So I had the most magical weekend, solo traveling, and then my husband met me at the end in the Swedish countryside. And as of this weekend, it has been 7 months since we moved here from the United States. And since I've been learning so much from you guys, there is a bunch that I've been noticing, through my extreme curiosity and observational standpoint in life that I need more answers on, or I would just love to hear what your input on it is, because I can only know so much in this place that's all pretty new to me. But first, let me show you a little bit of this beautiful weekend I just lived. So this weekend was the National Day of Sweden, which was celebrated where we were. There were flags everywhere and there was events going on and music, and that was really cool to see. But I've heard that Midsommar is the real National Day of Sweden, or at least a day that people hold much closer to their hearts and is much more widely celebrated. And I'm interested why that is, right? And whether it has to do something with seasonality. Now that I've been here from winter leading into spring, I really do notice how much seasons control people's behavior, attitudes, everything. And you can say that that's the weather, especially when it comes historically, right? The latitude here is much higher than it is in a lot of the states, besides Alaska. But I will say, in terms of the weather, at least where I am on the West Coast, it's really much more mellow weather here than I expected. Even with what they said about, people were saying about it being the snowiest winter in however long, it's nothing compared to living in certain states like Colorado, where the winters are 9 months long and there's snows, if you don't get 10 feet of snow in 24 hours, they don't even think about delaying school. So it wasn't that dramatic at all in terms of the winter. And then the gray and everything is not nearly comparable, I think, to the Pacific Northwest, because it's a literal rainforest. So everything here has just been much more relaxed, and yet people seem to live much more seasonally. And so I'm wondering if that has something to do with why Midsommar matters, Midsommar. If it has to do with this attachment to the natural world, and how there is just in general much more respect for nature here and much more incorporation of nature into everyone's day-to-day life. The other thing I've really noticed with the holidays that we've been here for, and I think it speaks to that more communal society mentality I've talked about in other videos, is how everybody seems to be on the same cadence of celebration. In the States, it is really not like that. I mean, barring Christmas, which a lot of people in the States don't celebrate, but everybody seems to get a Christmas break, all the schools and all these things. But every other holiday, it's always just different groups of people celebrating at different times because it's so diverse. You don't really have this unification around holidays that you've seen here, but I'm amazed by how cities just clear out, seemingly because everybody has a cabin here around the holidays, and I find that fascinating. We were in, even though it's a non-religious country, we were in southwestern Sweden, or south central Sweden, for Easter, and it was dead. There was nobody there. The entire town was seemingly empty. It felt like we were in a zombie apocalypse. And then the come down from holidays too. I've heard, and maybe you can correct me on this, but I've heard with Midsommar, the Midsummer's Eve is the big party time, and the day itself is like the come down, relax with people at the cabin. But this is just kind of what you read, so I'd love to hear about it from actual Swedes. Seeing how alive everything is foliage-wise is such a crazy juxtaposition from the winter, and that is honestly the first real indicator of how far north I am now comparatively to what I've been living at in the lower 48 states. And it's awesome. I already thought it was so beautiful here, and as everything just started blooming, especially when I got back to Italy, I was just amazed. It's gorgeous. It's so colorful. The cities here do such a great job of incorporating greenery into the middle of the cities. It's just so magical. And taking the train through the countryside, oh my gosh. Especially, I've only really done that through the winter. It's so different now. I see why people fall in love with Sweden, that's for sure. Having said that, moving to a country as an immigrant, when there's a lot of anti-immigration talk, there's so much on the news, discussions about immigration, and I understand both sides. I mean, I think it's almost more exhausting to understand everybody and have empathy for everybody sometimes in a world lacking such things. I can see why, all different sides. Like the comment section, every video I have, especially when I mention that I'm from the States, I get comments that I have to get rid of that are just super aggressive and angry that I'm here. And then there's other people that, it's almost worse, the other people that say things like, no, you're not the immigrants we're worried about, you're fine. Some guy, I'm assuming it was a guy, he said, your blue eyes and light skin are enriching our gene pool, you can stay. And I know that's not the majority of people. You know, I know that most people are not the extremes that you always hear, that are the most exhausting things, that are always the loudest, you know, the ignorance is loud thing. And they have the strongest opinions rooted in their ignorance, right? Most people are somewhere in between. And that's one of the sad things I think about this hyper connectivity age, is that you really just hear the loudest people too often, and then you start to assume the whole world's like that. When in my experience, and the more that I travel, the more I realize almost everywhere is somewhere in between those extremes. But I understand both sides, right? And I understand that it's a strange time to move to a country that specifically is trying to not let people move there and become citizens for reasons that are, yeah. But I will say that because I am the way I am, one, I've always kind of like, it would be weird to say that I love rejection. I love what friction teaches me. I've always leaned into lessons, and I have no issue with not feeling like I belong, because I honestly have never felt like I belong anywhere from my childhood up. I've always felt like there's somewhere I'm supposed to be that I'm not. And that's been a major drive in the way that I've lived my life, with such exceptional experiences and just constant movement and meeting so many amazing people and seeing so many magical things, largely because I've always been looking for home. I think I've really mastered a sense of an attachment, I think, to my circumstance, to places, to people especially. I don't really need people, and I honestly think it's almost problematic how much that feels good to me. And so it's the same thing with Sweden. Like, I don't need to belong here. I just love being here for a little bit, just to be here and witness this and meet the people I meet, see what it teaches me about myself, and just get to witness a beautiful part of the world. And my foundational goal is just to learn as much as I can with the time I have. And that's what, it's so great to be here and do that. And so when I make these videos and I ask these questions, it's because it really is like a driving force in my life. And you learn so much more from firsthand experience than you do from, you know, media that's through a filter and through a lot of like people with money that are trying to get across a message, right? Studying media, you really learn that. And so I just try to trust my own experience, and then from there out, other people and their firsthand experiences with things. And that's what this has been for me, and that's why I'm still doing it, because I am not a social media person. I love being mysterious. I've had so many people in my life describe me as mysterious, but I think from the outside, I'm a very strange person, and I am not someone that wants to be an influencer type and sit online and share my whole life with you. Like, I love having my phone off for days on end. But this has been so fun because I love learning from, it's like 90% Swedish people watching this, and I love learning from you guys. The interpersonal connectivity of that can only be had with strangers through this medium has been a highlight of my year so far. And so I'm going to keep sharing. We've got so many plans coming up. Midsommar is locked down, thanks to you guys, actually. So that's going to be rad. I'm not going to share what it is yet, but I'm going to make a video about it for sure. One of my best friends from Germany, who I met studying herbalism, she's a naturopath. She's awesome. She's coming out, and we might do something together on this. And then we're going to Norway in July, and then I'm actually going alone for 4 weeks to the States, retracing almost my history in the States all the way from the West Coast to the Midwest to the East Coast where I grew up to see childhood friends. And so it's going to be a crazy summer. I'm going to post as much as I can about it because this has been so fun. And the last question that I have, if you've made it this far, this has been one that I've been meaning to put into videos and I just haven't had a chance yet. Why are there so many New York Yankees hats everywhere, especially men? It seems almost like all men that have caps on, they're New York Yankees caps. And I need to know why at this point. I'm not exaggerating. I see at least 10 to 20 of them a day walking around on the trains where we just were this weekend. New York Yankees everywhere. I'm assuming it's not because any of these people are actually really into the team or really into American baseball, because it's kind of a, I mean, I played it for like 9 years. It's kind of a boring sport to watch unless you're like drinking a bunch of beer and eating hot dogs. It's more of like about being at the game. So is it just that it's like the one fashionable cap to wear? Please tell me, what is this New York Yankees hat thing? I need to know.